Hello, my name is Kjetil Sømo, and I work as an art and crafts teacher at Western Norway University of Applied Sciences. And at the art department where I work, we use Fusion 360 as the main 3D modeling tool, and we use it for making molds for porcelain casting and slip casting, and also for metal casting. And we use it for doing things like this, to make boxes and different things that's going to be cut with a laser cutter. In this tutorial, I will share how we use Fusion 360 to make this kind of oval or egg-shaped actually any kind of curved boxes in Fusion 360. Before I start, I'd like to point out that the pattern that I make here, that's for making the plywood flexible. It will be cut through in this pattern, and the distance between the cuts will determine how sharp bend you can make with the plywood. And as a rule of thumb, you can bend about a radius of 10 times the distance between these cuts. So for example, if it's 2 millimeters between these cuts, you can bend it around a radius of 20 millimeter in 4 millimeter plywood. So that's the rule of thumb. So then I'll just get to it and start the modeling. I will not go in details about all the measures and stuff. That's thing I'll leave to you to figure out. Just follow the tutorial and you'll probably understand why I choose the numbers and distances that I use. So I'll just start with a new design, start a new sketch at top plane, and I'll just make a simple oval shape here. And I'll start with some construction lines, just making them around the center point here. Like that. And I'll use origo as a midpoint on both. So this will be a simple oval shape. I can make it 100 millimeters long and maybe about 70 high, like that. And I'll just use a spline. And now I'll draw that from point to point, like that. Now I have the shape that I want. I won't do anything to alter the shape, but you could do that as you like, to make the shape that you like. Now I'll go to offset, and I'll offset this one out, and it's 4 millimeter plywood I'm going to use, so I'll use 4 millimeters, and I'll enter minus in front to make it go out, like that. And what I'll now draw is one of the squares in the pattern. I'll just draw it randomly out here, and I'll place a point at the midpoint of the right side, and then I'll use a coincident relation between that point and this horizontal guideline, and I'll also make a coincidence relation between one of the corners, inner corners, and the oval shape here. And now for the width of this square, I'll use the length of this oval. And I just click on the 3 dots on the right side and click measure, and I'll use that one. So now I have the length, and I'll just remove all the digits. I leave only 3 digits behind the comma, like that. And now I will divide this with a number that gives me a width of this at less than 5 millimeters, just to make the pattern, the cut pattern, so that I can bend it around this curve. If I have the width at 5 millimeters, I can get the cuts at 2.5 millimeters apart, and then I can bend it around about a 25 millimeter radius, and that would be sufficient here. So now I'll just try a number, and it's important that this number is can be divided with 3. That gives a lot of meaning when it gets a little later in the process. So now I'll just try 60 and see how I end up, and I end up at 4.478, and that's less than 5, and that's very okay. And for this side, I'll just leave it at 5. And now I'll just enter E at the keyboard for extrude, and I'll pick this profile and this, and I'll go in here and also get this little slice, and I'll enter 4 because that's the material thickness, and I enter OK. And now I make the sketch visible again, and now I will repeat this brick around this oval, and I'll use create pattern on path, and this is the body that I will repeat, and the path is this curve, and I'll alter this from identical to path direction, and on the distance I will use the length of the path. I can use measure to be sure I have the right one, and I'll remove all these numbers, and on quantity I'll write 21 like that, and then I'll have a double here, so I go on suppression and I remove that one, and then I can click OK, and I have all these squares that I need. Now I enter E at the keyboard again, and I pick this profile and this profile, and I also need to pick this one and that little slice again, and I enter 4 millimeters, and I alter this from cut to new body, and I enter OK. And now I'm going to remove these ones from this part. So then I go to combine, and I enter this one as a target body. For tool bodies, I will go over here, and I'll just click on the first one, hold down shift and click on the last one like that, and I'll alter this from join to cut, and I'll click OK. So now I have what would be the bottom of the box. So now I can go to move copy, and I can click on this one, and I can move that 120 millimeters to the in the X direction, and I create a copy. Click OK. Now I'll cut out the center of this one, and so I just right click and click create sketch, and then I right click again, go to sketch, project, and I'll pick this curve and click OK. Now go to offset and I click on this curve again and I enter 3 and enter. Now I can type E on the keyboard and I click this center part and I'll just pull that through downwards and click OK. So now I have those ready. So that's the bottom and that is the top of the box. The next thing I need is to make the side. So then I just start with a new create sketch on top plane like that, and I go on a rectangle, draw that out, and for dimension I'll enter 30 millimeters. That's half the height that I want to end up in, like that. And on the length here we need the same length as this curve, this oval curve. So then I go to measure and I can pick that one again, like that. And again I just leave 3 digits behind the comma, like that. Now I'll make the pattern on the top here that will fit in these holes. So now I start with a rectangle again, and just draw it randomly outside here, and then I go to midpoint and I place this corner at the midpoint of this base line, like that. And now I'll enter some dimensions. For the height it's 4 millimeters. For the width it's the same as the width of these holes, these square holes, and we already have that measure here. It's been stored, so I'll just click that one and enter. So now I have one of these. The next thing is to repeat this along the top here. So then I go to create rectangular pattern and I'll mark this square. And at the quantity, again I'll use 21 because half of this square here and the one on the other side will be cut away. So I need 21 of them. And on the distance, you can go to this measures that I stored here now, so I can just use that one. And that seems right. And now I'll have to cut away half of this one. I'll just mark it and type X to make it construction lines. And then I'll use some rectangle for that one, and then I'll repeat that on the other side. Just mark this one, type X, and then type R for rectangle, and then make it like that. Then I'll finish the sketch, and I'll mark all of this, and I'll type E for extrude and 4 and enter. So now I have that part, and I can go to create and I'll find mirror and I'll click on this part, and for mirror plane I just pick this plane and join and OK. So now I have the side. Now I need to make a sketch on this part for the cutting pattern. And when I make a DXF file from a sketch, Fusion will not make any difference if it's construction geometry or normal geometry. So I have to make this in 2 sketches. First one with all the helping lines and stuff, and one clean sketch with only the cut lines. So I start the first sketch here now. Right click on this and create sketch. And now I'll need all the geometry here as part of this sketch, so I'll right click, go to sketch, project, and click on this side and enter OK. And now I can make a construction line from that point to that point and then repeat it in that direction. So then I'll just enter L on the keyboard and then X to make it construction, and I'll draw this line here. And now I will repeat this construction line 121 times along here to create the cut pattern. So then I go to create, I go to rectangular pattern. On objects I'll pick this one, and on the quantity I'll write in 121. On the distance I can use the stored measure, and it's the minus version because the blue arrow is pointing to the left and we need to go to the right, like that. And now I have the lines I need in that direction, and I also need some lines that goes horizontal. So I'll enter L and I'll start there and just go maybe over there. It's not very important actually, and I'll go with 2 lines a little bit lower, and then 1 line above and 1 below the center, and then 2 more lines below there, and then 1 at the bottom here, like that. And then I'll need to enter the distance. So then I go to sketch dimensions and I'll just use 5 millimeters for this. So just enter 5 and 5 between these two, and then 5 between these. And now I need to make the distance between these line pairs the same, and a trick can be to just draw lines, one between that line and that one, and then between those two, between those and those, and then just use the equal constraint between these lines. So now I can make the cut lines. So I go to line again, and I now can enter X to make it a regular line. And I'll start from there and go down to this one. And then I'll leave one spacing open and go from there to there. And then leave one open and then go from that point and down here. So that's the first one. And then I'll make them overlap, so I start below, down there, and I go to this point, and I start from there, go down there. So these are the lines I need, and I can take away the construction geometry. So I just have the cutting lines. Then I go to finish sketch. And now I can use these lines and just project them to a new sketch. So first I can just click create sketch and and click on this surface. And then I can pick these lines. And then right click, sketch, project, and OK. So now I have those. And now I can mark those, go to create, rectangular pattern, and for distance, again, we just use the minus 268.685 that we made. And for quantity, we need 3 of these for each of these squares. So it's going to be 60, and then the first one is counted also, and I have to make it 61 to make this right. And I'll write 61. So now that they are spaced correctly, but I can go to suppression here, and I can take away this last one. It has to be there because if it's not, it's gonna be it's not gonna be spaced correctly. So I can click OK on that one, and I can also remove these lines because the laser cutter is already gonna cut down this line, and it's no need to cut twice on the same line. So just delete that one and that one. So now the box is actually ready. I have done all the modeling I need to do. So what I use is on utilities, I have downloaded an add-in that's called Save DXF for laser cutting. So what I'll do is I'll just hide the sketches. I'll go to DXF for laser cutting, and I'll click on each of these and save them as DXF. And I usually use 0.15 millimeters as curve for these kind of boxes where I use glue to mount them. So that's quite easy. Just pick the surface you want to make an DXF file from, and just OK, and choose where to place it. So just cancel that one. For the sketch, I just right click and save as DXF. So that's the tutorial. I hope my English has been understandable, although maybe only barely, and that some of you have can find some use of this tutorial.